It looks like I was already live streaming on Twitter, which I did not know. Okay, I think we're all set.
Awesome.
All right, and we'll hit start webinar, and then maybe we'll get going. How's everything with you today?
Going really good. Let's see. You doing well?
Yeah, it's just oh, can you do me a huge favor? I'm
Yeah.
gonna make you the host so that things can run like pretty smoothly.
Yeah.
And just when you finish, can you hit like stop live streaming?
Yeah.
Like you know how to do that, or
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the three buttons. I don't have the option now, but I should once I'm host.
you should be good now. All right, here we go.
Yep. I got it.
I think you have to hit get started.
Start webinar.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
Hey guys, hi everybody.
Good evening.
Let's make sure the chat is open up too. That's been an issue. Let's just see.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys, if you're joining in on us, first of all, hi everybody. Hi everybody from the Toward Health app. Hi everybody from social media. Hi everybody from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. If you guys are here live with us, can you just throw something into the chat so we can make sure the chat's working? All right.
Doesn't look like seeing anything in the chat yet.
Yeah, let me see if I can change that. Okay. I think you're the only one who can change that. Or maybe make me the host for a little bit and I can mess around with it.
There you go.
Okay, let's see if I can change it now. All
Yeah, it
right.
says disabled.
Attendees can chat with everyone. There we go. Okay, panelists can chat with everyone. So we should be good now. All
There
right,
we go.
give us some love in the chat, guys. Not in the Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Laura, I'm going to make you the host again. And everybody, thank you for joining us. I think this is is this the finale or this is the third week? I forget.
Third week. Yep. We got
Third week.
two more left.
Okay. So I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and this is an amazing service that I think we do is sort of spreading the awareness of type 2 diabetes reversal at Toward Health. November is is Diabetes Awareness Month. And a couple days ago was Diabetes Awareness Day. And it's just shocking to me that diabetes is still considered a chronic remitting disease. And so I'm super excited to be able to talk about diabetes reversal today. Oh, I won't be talking. Dr. Laura Buchanan will be talking. And I'll do quick introductions about myself and about her. I am a board certified internist. I'm a board certified obesity medicine doc, and I have been practicing metabolic medicine for 8 years, helping people lose weight, predominantly through telemedicine, our nationwide medical service. And one of the things I had to reclaim my own health to really get here. We've published, both independently and together, Dr. Laura Buchanan and I and myself, we've published, several papers on disease reversal, which I know we're both proud about. Toward Health is our practice, and it's a nationwide medical practice. We have coaches and doctors that all, basically are inspired by making metabolic health the first and foremost issue that our patients manage. And our mission is basically to reverse chronic disease. So it's been an amazing, 8 years here, and the future is really bright. I'm excited about things coming up, and this month, is about giving back and doing a free, sort of a free webinar that Dr. Laura Buchanan's put together on diabetes awareness. So I'm going to let Dr. Laura Buchanan introduce her. I know it's in the first couple of slides, but I'll let her introduce herself. And then, guys, if you have any questions along the way, just throw them in the chat. We absolutely appreciate it. If you're on the Toward Health app, you can get access to this webinar and you can chat with us live. If you're coming in from social, feel free to just watch and learn. All
Awesome.
right,
Thanks
Dr.
so
Laura.
much. Yeah. Let me share my screen. Like Dr. Tro mentioned, I've got just a little slide there, but I'm really glad who's ever here this week. This is actually one of my favorite weeks. So I love giving this talk. Can I get a thumbs up? The screen, everything looks okay. People can see it good. There we go. All right, awesome. Then let's get started. So that is my son James and my husband Matt, is also passionate in this metabolic health space, helps us with a lot of our research that we try to publish to bring awareness that and our really in relation to this, actually, we are now have a poster and are working on a paper right now talking about diabetes remission and our success and our patient success through their lifestyle changes, which is really exciting. So hopefully that'll come out early next year. I'm board certified in family and obesity medicine. I am a metabolic health practitioner as well as on the board of the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners. I'm also a Menopause Society certified practitioner. And I'll just say a huge win and very happy to see the FDA is now removing the black box warning from menopausal hormone therapy. That is way long overdue, but fantastic that they actually came out and admitted that that was really a mistake. And so that's really cool. And my goal is to really help as many people as possibly age successfully, just like my granny did well into her mid-90s through her lifestyle. So we've already talked about what is diabetes, why does diabetes matter? And if you go on the app, those are posted in the top of the community chat for free for the month of November. So please check those out. This week, we're going to talk about, are medications the answer, which is an emphatic no. And then next week, we're going to really dive deeper into the lifestyle changes, how you can improve, reverse, put your diabetes into remission. All right, let's get going. So we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to be talking about the conventional perspective of type 2 diabetes, hidden sugars, how you can actually read nutrition labels. We're going to look at medications for type 2 diabetes. And then I'm going to compare and contrast the medication and the lifestyle mindset. So I have this slide on every single week because I want people to know you can develop insulin resistance actually years before diabetes develops. And we are really missing the chance as a medical profession to catch that insulin resistance early to prevent the development of diabetes in the first place, instead of waiting for that A1C to go above 6.5 and then adding in medications or then recommending lifestyle changes. We really want to intervene sooner, because the sooner you intervene, the easier it is to reverse that insulin resistance and prevent diabetes. Once you have it, it's not impossible by any means, but if someone's had it for 20 years, it's definitely going to be more difficult. Medications will not reverse diabetes. It does not have to be chronic and progressive. And again, it is reversible for most people, or at least you can greatly improve it with lifestyle changes. And these are just a handful of victories that I like to share every week, hopefully get people excited that if you yourself have an A1C that's almost 15, sugars are, in the 400s most of the time, in 3 months without medications, you can cut that in half. And again, that's pretty amazing, because most of the time, if your A1C is in that range, you're going to be put on a ton of insulin and likely several other medications. So let's look at what the conventional perspective of type 2 diabetes currently is. If you go to the American Diabetes Association website, this is listed on their website. And actually, I've got a question first for you all, and can throw some answers in the chat. Who has been told that diabetes is chronic and progressive and that you may need medications for life? Or you can, if you want, you can also put your hands up, or throw some hands in the air, whatever it might be. Yeah, so someone answered in the chat, they've heard it. I've definitely had many of my patients, some people raising hands, I've had many of my patients tell me their doc has told them this. And that's, what it says here. You will have to progress to medication, and further down the line, you might need to take a combination of medications, including insulin. We then go look further. Diabetes is considered a progressive condition, which is why the first step you take to manage your diabetes will not stay effective long term. Maybe that's because they're suggesting the wrong first step. If you follow the standard dietary recommendations and dietary recipes from the American Diabetes Association, then your diabetes will almost certainly progress. So I want to look at those recipes and kind of back that up. All right, so last week I showed that when your blood sugar is around 80, that is the equivalent of only having about 1 teaspoon of sugar in your blood. And we also learned that about 4 grams of carbohydrates, if you're looking at that total carbohydrate count, can impact your body like 1 teaspoon of sugar. This formula is not perfect. It's going to slightly depend on the type of food for sure, but it is really helpful in making food choices. So how many teaspoons of sugar are in 1 cup of this berry almond oatmeal? You can throw it in the chat here. If you do some quick math, 33 grams divided by 4 grams of carbohydrate per teaspoon. And the serving size here is 1 cup. That is going to give us about 8 teaspoons of sugar per cup. But what's worse than this, when I ate oatmeal, I used to eat 2 cups of oatmeal for breakfast. 1 cup is tiny. So that means I'm getting close to 16 teaspoons of sugar for breakfast, actually. So who thinks if you eat 16 teaspoons of sugar for breakfast every day that your diabetes might be progressive? It makes sense, right? That you're flooding the body with sugar, diabetes is probably going to progress. But if you sweeten your oatmeal with Splenda, that saves you 1 teaspoon of sugar and makes this a healthy breakfast. There's a little bit of sarcasm. It's unfortunate, but there's a lot of advertisement, a lot of money that goes into basically setting up people for their diabetes to be chronic and progressive. So instead, I eat 6 eggs for breakfast. This is 0 teaspoons of sugar and delicious. Now, one of the things that we also see, so you can imagine you're getting that large influx of blood sugar in the morning from breakfast, and you see that your sugar is roughly 90, and then it spikes to 170, and then comes crashing down, and it comes crashing down below that baseline. This is something called reactive hypoglycemia we talked about in the first week. And this is, there's a drop in your blood sugar below that baseline, and that big drop in blood sugar you're seeing is actually going to trigger hunger. So the carbs that you're eating for breakfast are now actually going to make you hungrier for more carbs for lunch because you're feeling shaky or you're feeling fatigued or anxious from that, again, that low sugar, or it just makes your body craves the sugar to help bring it back up. And that'll also provoke you to eat more, and it can trigger stress hormones to be released as well. So we want to try to avoid these types of blood sugar swings that are going to drive eating. Let's look at another recipe. Protein muffins. I like the sound of protein muffins. Okay. So 14 grams of carbs. That's about 3 teaspoons of sugar. Well, these are teeny tiny little muffins. And so if I were to have, I'd probably eat several muffins. And if we actually look at, we don't have time today to go into depth about protein, but ideally you would want to eat at least 30 grams of protein when you eat a meal to help build your muscle. That is going to help build off more sugar and keep you feeling full longer. So if you're having these muffins and you want to get that 30 grams of protein, you need to have 6 muffins. So that's, again, 3, 6, it was 18 teaspoons of sugar to get that recommended amount of protein, at least for your meal. And I want everyone to think about how many muffins they would eat. Remember, these are small muffins. These aren't your big, large muffins from Dunkin' Donuts or somewhere. And then take that carbohydrate count, divide by 4, and think about how many sugar equivalents that would be. Just kind of be honest with yourself and just think about that. Okay, double duty banana pancakes. All right, 23 grams of carbohydrates. So we're looking at another roughly 6 teaspoons of sugar, and this only has 3 grams of protein. So again, I'm trying to get my 30 grams of protein. I am going to be eating 20 pancakes to get to that 30 grams, which is 56 teaspoons of sugar. Again, obviously I'm not going to be eating 20 pancakes, but for breakfast, I really do. If I'm eating breakfast, many times I don't. I'm doing a longer fast, pushing my meal back. But I really would want to get a good bolus of protein. And so if this is a recipe you're following to try to help your diabetes, or you're going to their website and you're also thinking, oh, I should get my protein to be healthy. If this is your breakfast, you're not getting there. So the problem with these recipes is not only that they're really not that healthy, but they don't meet our basic nutritional needs. And in addition to the ADA, there are about 10 major companies that profit off from you buying their food that is really causing diabetes. So these companies can hide sugar in foods that they call low carb, keto, tons of products now on the market that advertise keto and low carb, but really they will spike your blood sugar and they can worsen your diabetes. And this is where the continuous glucose monitor can really help you find these hidden sugars. And I like to think of the CGM, or the continuous glucose monitor, as a lie detector. It knows all. So if there's something that advertises low carb or keto friendly, have a glucose monitor on and check it out. Is it really low carb friendly? So again, the foods that you think are low carb, you can really determine that. There's a lot of processed fibers now that are added to food that our body can't actually absorb and process and ends up spiking sugars. There's a lot of other names for sugar, which we're going to look at. And then a lot of times, especially if you're eating at restaurants, sugar is added to whole food, like barbecue sauce on meat. I went out to a barbecue place once, and my sugar went up to 160. I was like, all I ate was the ribs. Of course, the barbecue sauce. And coleslaw, another thing, actually, has a lot of sugar added to it for some restaurants. So you'll start seeing things like that. And remember, sugar by any other name is still going to spike your CGM. That's why I love them. They're so empowering. And so these are tons of different names that you'll see, different ingredients on the back of the label that you can see. All of these would probably spike your blood sugar, except maybe the sugar alcohols, which we'll talk about just a little bit more. And you're going to be shocked when you start reading nutrition labels. These things are in most processed foods. And so I think it can be really helpful to actually learn this list. And a little bit more on the sugar alcohols. These generally do have less impact on blood sugar. The exception is maltitol, which may cause higher spikes. Sugar alcohols can actually be found naturally in some fruits and berries, and sometimes berries don't really cause much impact on blood sugar. Everybody is very personal, though, how their body responds. I've seen tiny little clementines before spike people to over 200. And the sugar alcohols provide fewer calories than regular sugar does. Common sugar alcohols, erythritol, sorbitol, again, maltitol, xylitol, and several others there. Foods that are labeled sugar-free, including hard candies, chewing gums, soft drinks, very often will use sugar alcohols to sweeten them. And if you go in the app, actually, you go under articles, the weight loss folder, nutrition labels, you can find a whole lot more information than I'm going to have time to really go over tonight, to learn more about hidden sugars, reading nutrition labels, about more on the different sugar substitutes. So definitely check that out. I think that can be really helpful. So I want to spend some time though really going through the nutrition labels with you, because it is so much advertising out there right now on this stuff. Who has heard of total carb versus net carb? Just give me a thumbs up or something. Yeah, definitely. So the other thing, so when I'll start at the top. When you're eating, you're looking at the back of a nutrition label, people frequently eat multiple servings. Think about the oatmeal, the muffins. I would not eat just one tiny little muffin ever. When you have bread, you typically have 2 slices of bread most of the time if you're having a sandwich. So you want to double the stated carbs. So looking at this one, that would be 24 grams of carb. And it says live carb smart, but it's still 24 grams of carb actually. Now, it says 11 grams of fiber. So that's total carbs is 12, net carb is 1 gram. How did we come up with the net carbs Does anybody know how we calculate net carb? You can either type it in the chat. Yeah, I'm getting some thumbs up. People know that. So basically, you can subtract the dietary fiber or sugar alcohols from the total carbohydrate count. So this bread has 11 grams of dietary fiber. That means it's only 1 gram of net carbs. So if you're counting carbs, and yep, someone said it, if you're counting carbs and you're thinking, oh, wow, this bread only has 1 carb in it, that's great. But really, you gotta look at that total carb count. And again, so there's the formula, total minus fiber and sugar alcohols. So food companies abuse this principle of net carbs by boasting these very low calculated net carbs, and they add in extra fiber to actually do that. But again, the body responds to these processed fibers very differently than if you were eating broccoli that has fiber in it. So if again, this kind of fiber may actually spike your blood sugar quite a bit. And in fact, this is a patient who ate that 1 gram of net carb, thinking they were doing really good picking that bread choice. But look, their sugar went above 260 when before it was, maybe in the 80s or around 100. So that's, again, where they can be really deceiving, and the CGMs can help us. So you want to be a label detective. The food companies don't care about your health. They're just trying to sell you more processed foods. And so don't get fooled when you see that only 1 gram of net carb on the back of a label. Now let's look at some cauliflower crust. This is very popular. Now even restaurants will sell cauliflower crust. And we're going to compare and contrast these two different brands. Here, this first one is made with real cauliflower as the first ingredient, dairy, gluten-free. But look at the label. It's got brown rice flour, cornstarch, tapioca, and sugar, which basically means it's got grain, sugar, and starch. Carbs, carbs, carbs. So that's 28 grams of carb per 1/3 of the crust. On some of these smaller crusts, honestly, when I've had them previously, I'd eat the entire thing. So I'm having 90 grams of carb right there if I were to eat this. We also look at other ingredients. Sunflower oil, which is a seed oil that is often found in processed foods. And in some of our patients, it does seem like the processed vegetable oils actually seem to cause some blood sugar fluctuations as well. And so again, 1/3 of this crust is probably not that big, contains nearly a full day's allotment of carbohydrates if we're trying to be really low carb and be keto to stick with 30 grams of total carb. Now let's look at this cauliflower keto crust. No hidden sugars, starches, or grains, only 3 grams of total carbohydrate. And you look at that ingredient list, you understand every word in the ingredient list, and it's great. So you really got to be an ingredient label detective. Check the package, check the ingredient list. Let's look at some breads. So this first one here, 0 net carb bread. You look at the ingredients: wheat protein isolate, vital wheat gluten, oat fiber, chicory root. These are all grain sources that can really increase blood sugar in many people. So while the total carb count is only 7 grams, it's not huge. If you're still having 2 slices, you may actually still see a blood sugar spike when you're eating this, especially if you've got diabetes or insulin resistance. Here's another one, 11 grams. Modified food starch is the first ingredient. Wheat protein, that probably won't do too much, but then the oat fiber, sunflower flour, soluble corn fiber. Again, those are going to spike your blood sugar. And then they've also got the soybean oil and safflower. And again, these things we have seen cause some fluctuations in blood sugar for some people. And now when we look at base culture, again, it's an ingredient list. You can say every word, you know exactly what they are really. And arrowroot flour is a gluten and grain-free powder that is used as a thickening agent that typically does not have much of an impact. And so the total carb count is still 8 grams, which is similar to that other one I mentioned. But odds are you eat this bread, you're going to see it does not have the same impact on your blood sugar. So it makes all the difference in terms of our body's response is what is in the things, what's the actual ingredient list, not just what's the total carb count. We look at low carb pancake options, kind of similar thing here. It advertises keto, one net carb, but it's still got 20 grams of carbs. It's got pea protein, sugar cane, fiber, and tapioca starch, which may actually, again, really bump up some people's blood sugars. Carb conscious, only 4 grams of net carbs, no sugar added. But again, we see wheat gluten, chickpea flour, soluble corn fiber, and sunflower oil, and sugarcane fiber. That very well is likely going to increase sugars. And so just, again, same idea, be a label detective. Here we've got a short list of easily recognizable ingredients. Again, 11 grams of total carb count is less than the other two options. And again, a huge disparity in the ingredient quality when you compare this to the other two products. So to recap in this section, professional organizations, food corporations do not care about you. You got to be your own best advocate. Turn over every package, read the nutrition information and the list of ingredients. Ingredients can be as important as the carb counts, and really try to stick with the healthier ingredients. This is going to enable your body to heal and give you safer ways to indulge without derailing your hunger or your blood sugar and your health goals. All right, we're going to transition now and talk about medications for type 2 diabetes. I want to ask another question. What do you think happens to your A1C each year when you treat your diabetes with medications? Give people a couple of seconds to kind of think about this. Someone said nothing, not a bad thought. Yep. I wish it were nothing, but in fact, if you put on medicines, your A1C increases by about 0.5% per year. And this is what leads to more medications and eventually insulin. Yep, a couple of people, it goes up. So when we look at some of the first line medications now, metformin is definitely one of the most common, can improve your A1C by about 1%. Does have some side effects, diarrhea, mostly GI upset, can cause B12 deficiency. So if you're taking it, make sure you're monitoring that. Empagliflozin and dapagliflozin helps decrease reabsorption of sugar from the kidneys. So you have more sugar in the urine, can decrease A1C by about 0.5% to a little bit higher than that actually. Increases risk of yeast infections. Ketoacidosis can happen, but that's actually very rare. And then the GLP-1 hormones definitely are one of the, I would say, probably the best medication we have on the market now for diabetes. Mounjaro or semaglutide, liraglutide, tirzepatide. And this increases the GLP-1 hormone, or it is the GLP-1 hormone, increases satiety, and has several other mechanisms by which it can help improve our insulin sensitivity and lower blood sugar. So you can see A1C improvements over 2% from these medicines. They are associated with a higher risk of side effects. So when you look at studies of people who take them for more than 1 year, it's not actually that many out in clinical practice. Because of the abdominal pain, constipation, nausea, diarrhea, vomiting that can occur. Pancreatitis is a risk. It's not a huge risk, but you do have to be concerned, watch that. And then there's been a signal for thyroid cancer in animals. It kind of mixed results in humans. When we look at the last line of medications, we've got glipizide, glyburide, glimepiride. If I have a patient on this, I almost always try to stop it as quickly as possible. This causes your body to produce more insulin. And remember, we talked about in week 1, type 2 diabetes is from insulin resistance, is coming from having too much insulin around. So these medications make you make even more insulin, and you've already got too much around. And they actually can cause dangerously low blood sugars. So if you're eating keto, then you can actually have life-threatening low blood sugars. Even if you're not eating keto, that can still occur. And they actually cause weight gain. And then there's insulin. Insulin can lower A1C hugely and make a huge improvement in it. But I'll show you why that is not the answer. Again, we're insulin resistant with type 2 diabetes. We don't want to be adding more insulin to that problem. Hypoglycemia, again, life-threatening. Unfortunately, this is something you see in the emergency room, admitted to the hospital regularly for people getting too low blood sugars on these medicines. Insulin increases risk for hypertension, leg swelling, weight gain, and more that I'll show you on the next slide. So although the medications I just showed you here, they can improve your A1C, I just told you, on average, you put someone on medicines and the A1C goes up. the medications do not stop the progression of the disease if you are not treating the underlying cause. If you're still eating a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of processed foods, your pancreas is still going to have to keep on producing larger and larger amounts of insulin, which contributes to more ongoing insulin resistance and more weight gain. And this is why, again, in that first study, the A1C actually increased over time with medications. And this is why insulin is really not the answer, even though you can have really big drops in A1C with it. Insulin shots cause weight gain, because insulin really is the fat storing hormone, this again is just going to lead to higher insulin resistance, which means eventually you're going to have to use even higher insulin doses, which feeds into this never-ending cycle. And that's where we see a lot of complications and progression from diabetes. And so we saw in the intensive, if you look at this table here or figure, in the intensive arm, meaning higher amounts of insulin, you saw better A1C, yet you saw significantly more weight gain compared to the lower doses of insulin. But even more importantly, the higher dose of insulin was associated with a higher risk of death. So you had a higher risk of death even though your A1C was lower with insulin. And I want to go back and talk a little bit more about the GLP-1 medications. Again, I think they probably are the best medication for diabetes, but I still think they're not the answer. When you make any kind of lifestyle change or lose weight, you're going to lose lean mass. And there's been studies that showed if you, on a ketogenic diet, you lose about 15% of your weight loss from lean mass, about 85% or so from fat loss, which is really fantastic. Other dietary interventions, maybe around 20% or so, maybe a little bit more. When in a study looking at semaglutide or Ozempic, Wegovy, lean mass loss was all the way up to 40%. That's huge. So 60% was coming from fat loss. If you lose that lean mass and kind of compare the two side by side, that lean mass is what's making your metabolic rate. Over time, this is going to be very problematic, especially if your insurance stops covering that medicine or you stop the medicine, you haven't made the lifestyle changes, you haven't been working out, your metabolic rate is now going to come down, and then the weight regain can be pretty drastic. And that is what the studies show. When they just stop the GLP-1 medications, weight regain is rapid. The other thing is some of the effects and the benefits from GLP-1 medications wane with time. So when you look at 104 weeks, when you look at positive mood improvements from the medicine or cravings for sweet things, by the end of the study period, it was actually back no longer significant compared to a placebo. And when we look at this a little bit more closely, we see the exact same thing when it comes to hunger, fullness, and then difficulty resisting cravings. So it's the body has gotten accustomed to the medication, so it's no longer providing those same benefits. And so that's why I think these medications can be an extremely helpful tool sometimes, a tool to help people with the dietary changes, to help with some of the cravings, but it's not by itself the answer. You've got to be making those lifestyle changes. If you are using one, use it as a tool to help make those lifestyle changes that are really going to be the thing that is able to put your diabetes into remission. When it comes to stopping diabetes medications, this is extremely important because you often need to do it on the same day. If you're on glimepiride or glyburide or glipizide, those medications really may need to be titrated the same day. And the longer you have had diabetes, the longer it may take to stop medications, but it is still possible. I've had 80-year-olds come off of insulin, so it is never too late. You really want to be working with someone who can help you titrate the medications because, again, hypoglycemia can be life-threatening if you're on insulin or sulfonylureas. So we've seen medications not the answer. So what is the answer? And it really comes down to thinking differently and living differently. So we're going to talk about thinking differently this week. And then next week, we're going to go into the nuts and bolts about living differently. So the lifestyle mindset is an empowered mindset. The medication mindset, diabetes is chronic and progressive, I am doomed. This is what I was told by the ADA, I was told by my doc. Lifestyle mindset, I can improve or reverse my diabetes. Again, I'm empowered. Medications will help protect me from diabetes. Actually, if I take medications, my A1C on average will increase by 0.5% per year. I don't want to feel deprived. I don't want to miss out on those foods. Instead, I have the opportunity to be healthy. I'll have just a few pieces of pizza. Instead, next time, I'll eat the toppings off the pizza. It's actually delicious. And now many places actually have pizza bowls. It's a great alternative. I'll try just a little of each pie at the party. Instead, I'll bring a keto pie to the party and I'll be able to enjoy that while others are enjoying their pies. And I can eat cake and then give myself insulin. The cake is really only going to taste good for a few seconds. It's not worth it. Now I want to go through and look at how you can take control of some different difficult situations, like social situations and holidays. I want you to know what you are up against because, again, this is really not easy. There are biologic reasons, there are social reasons, personal and cultural things that all drive us to eat. And no ketogenic diet is going to change the childhood memories that you may have of sentimental favorite foods, of pies your grandma made, or some other thing that, again, that childhood memory, you think of that thing and it just lights your brain up. No food plan is going to change the way society gets together to celebrate at meals for meals. No nutritional profile is going to change traditional cultural food norms. No diet is going to remove the hormonal drive to eat. Now, it can really help with the hormonal drive to eat, but it can't remove it. And then no diet is going to outlast the hyperpalatability of modern processed foods. So again, we got to know what we're combating. Let's look at some strategies and specifically looking at social events first, because social eating is a part of our culture. You want to go in with mindset. You want to replace what you can't restrict. If you're like, man, I cannot be without this thing, find a replacement for that thing. Find a low carb version. You don't want to go into a party really hungry. Otherwise, it's going to be way harder to resist those temptations. We've got Thanksgiving right around the corner. I encourage people, if you know you're going to a Thanksgiving party, bring, if they're not going to be there, a keto pie, a keto stuffing, or some other options for you to really help, again, when there's those other really high sugary carb options available. And have an out for yourself. Have it planned in advance what you might be able to say if you just need to step away from that situation. And you want to think about why you embarked on your health journey. It can be really helpful to hold on to your whys when you're resisting a food that's maybe really hard to resist. And then after the event, maybe you crush it, you don't have any of the tempting foods, but then 2 to 3 days later, there can actually be some cravings that really pop up that you haven't been dealing with for a bit. So prepare yourself mentally for that as well. Holidays, again, present very special challenges for many reasons. Thanksgiving, again, talk about tradition, all the classic foods that are there. A lot of them are carb heavy options. There's a lot of peer pressure. Again, people saying, hey, just have one bite, it won't hurt, or just a little taste. Or it's just one time of the year, indulge a little bit. Emotional eating can definitely, during the holidays, that can be a really challenging time for people. Celebrations, sometimes people are more isolated feeling during the holidays, and then that can be challenging. Maybe you're going to a party and you don't feel comfortable bringing something to the party. Maybe some of these are your favorite foods. And then again, oftentimes during the holidays, there's so many parties and seasons and stuff going on that your schedule is really disrupted. It makes it harder to meal prep and plan in advance. So, mentioning planning, you really do want to plan ahead. Not having a plan is a plan to fail. You want to anticipate that peer pressure. Know what you are going to say when someone says, try just one bite, or I cooked this just for you. One type of peer pressure oftentimes leaves you concerned about offending people, hurting someone's feelings. And in this case, it can actually be helpful. Give that person a heads up before the party. Let them know in advance. I love your cooking, but right now I can't eat X food. Don't worry about me. I'll take care of myself. If someone asks you what you want, you can tell them you're eating low carb, but realize not everybody understands how to cook low carb. And then really the point of the holidays is to spend time with our loved ones, our friends, our family. So focus on just enjoying that, being there in the moment. And if you can find someone who does eat the way you are, then that can be really helpful. If someone, again, can support you in what you're doing. I want to talk just briefly on low carb on a budget. There's actually a section in our app on this as well. You want to stock up, take advantage of monthly and seasonal sales. Definitely this time of year, there are some things that go on sale. If there's a certain meat that I really like and it gets cut way back, like the rib roast sometimes will go on sale at Publix, the ribeyes, then I will load up and fill up my freezer. Fast food and restaurants, you can order things a la carte actually, and the burger patties are often less than $2. So if you want to get 5 burger patties and you're not eating anything else, except maybe the pickles and onion with those burger patties, make sure you order it a la carte. You're going to save yourself nowadays, $40 by doing that. There are apps and gift cards, more information on that in the app. So if this is something you're interested in, definitely check that out. And then I want to talk about, because this ties directly into our mindset. There's oftentimes people think, shouldn't I just be able to eat a little bit of everything? And moderation appears to be pretty common sense, but it rarely takes 3 big factors into account: who we are, our health, our history, the modern hyper-palatable processed food environments. Maybe 100 years ago, before we had all the foods that we do now, moderation was totally worked for most people. But now you go down the shopping food aisle, you see the candy, Halloween, and all this stuff. Maybe the extent to now which our modern environment actually pushes food, people on average are eating 15 times a day, depending on the study you look at. Whereas before, people were truly just eating at meals, not having snacks or just grazing throughout the day. And moderation relies that you have your willpower magically show up when you are most vulnerable. You've had a really stressful day at work and you're like, okay, I'll just have just a little bite. And you have one bite and your brain's reward centers light up. You've had that tough day. You're going to keep on eating. Most people would keep on eating in that situation. And just a comment here, the same foods, again, they're going to affect different people differently. And you need to find out, know your body. So again, the CGM will really help you do this. But if a food continually causes you harm, it spikes your sugar, it causes you discomfort or distress when you eat it, your own body is giving you all the information you need about whether you should eat it. And abstinence from foods that cause you harm is not an eating disorder. It is self-care. People may tell you that eating low carb or keto is harmful or is an eating disorder, but that is not true. I want to finish off finally with looking at the 5 musts of any lifestyle plan. And when we help people start a low carb lifestyle, we are thinking of these 5 things up front, trying to figure out how we can help them manage them to make this a sustainable lifestyle, not a 6-month diet, but truly a sustainable lifestyle. And all of these have to be individualized to the person. You want to be able to manage hunger, manage cravings, manage feelings of deprivation, manage social situations we just talked about briefly, and then really manage emotions as well. So to recap, diabetes does not have to be chronic and progressive. A1C increases by about 0.5% each year when type 2 diabetes is treated with medications. Hidden sugars are everywhere, and you really need to change your mindset to succeed and keep those 5 musts for any lifestyle plan in mind when you're thinking about, I'm making a sustainable lifestyle change. I'm not going on a crash diet. And I want you to be motivated. These are real people who have had humongous improvements in their blood sugar, 6 stories. And this is just, we see this all the time and now in our practice. This is not abnormal. This is what is actually normal. Diabetes does not have to be chronic and progressive if the first intervention you're doing is the right intervention. And everyone on our team is very passionate about this because we've all had our own challenges, whether that's food addiction, type 2 diabetes, some kind of metabolic disease, or seeing the people we love really suffer from type 2 diabetes. And so if you do not have someone who can support you on this, we would love to be that team to support you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can text the office, give us a call. We're on social media, and you can also go to our website. And that is the end of week 3. Let me stop sharing so we have a little bit of time here for questions. And I saw one question actually at the very beginning here. Having an early Thanksgiving dinner on Saturday with friends, amazed to see the abundance of sugary foods wrapped in must-have holiday delights. Yeah, that is a great comment. It's really unfortunate, but it's very true. I don't know what this just popped into my head, but I'll share. During Valentine's Day, chocolates and so much sugar, for our loved ones. But there's some great charcuterie boards that are shaped in hearts or meats, and I think that's a good way to show that you care about someone. So, question: what can be done to prevent foot neuropathy or reverse it if you already have it? I touched on this a little bit last week, but for prevention purposes, 100% optimize your blood sugars. Reverse prediabetes, reverse your diabetes if you have it, insulin resistance if you have it. If you already have neuropathy, then sometimes it can get better just with going on a ketogenic diet, doing the lifestyle changes. There's other treatment options. Laser light therapy has some data behind it. And then medications is more typically really for symptomatic control rather than reversal. But also sometimes too, again, if you can have nutritional deficiencies that may be contributing to it. So checking B12, sometimes even copper, some other nutrients in there that may also contribute. And so B vitamin supplementation can sometimes help people. And just throwing out, none of this is personal medical advice. It's just generally talking about how I think about these things. Yeah, I think someone else curious about net carbs. I think I answered the question on net carbs, but definitely let me know if you have any other questions. I know it's so tricky. We really try to focus on total carbs, not worrying about the non-starchy vegetables or salad greens, but really thinking about processed foods, fruit, nuts, things like that. Nice, thank you. Dr. Tro answered neuropathy can take 2 years to improve. Let's see, you said that being on medication causes A1C to go up. Is it the medication that's causing it to go up, or is it just that you're not cognizant of your diet because you're on meds? Good question. So the medications have actually been shown in studies to lower A1C. But when you look at the population, in general, if you look at the people who have diabetes and you look at what happens over time, their A1C goes up over the course of a year. So they may be doing exactly what the doc told them. Maybe they started that medication that in studies has been shown to lower A1C, but they have not made any lifestyle changes. They are continuing to eat the way they're eating, and the medication basically does not out-compete those dietary patterns. What will having a couple glasses of wine do to my blood sugar? So unless it's a really sweet wine, like maybe a muscadine or maybe some sangria, wine will actually typically lower blood sugar. Again, I think this was on week 1, if y'all want to check it out. But your liver is going to be focusing on metabolizing that alcohol rather than now stabilizing or increasing blood sugars. And there's a few other mechanisms too, but because of that, you'll typically see blood sugar be stable or drop. JAMA neurology study actually showed that higher LDL is associated with better nerve healing. Very interesting. Yes, awesome. Thank you for the comment. I understand why tonight's lecture is your favorite. I'm even more determined to stick with low carb plan, even with baby steps. That is awesome. No one is perfect. We are always working towards progress, not perfection. So keep it up. And then the article is posted in the chat for other people, for anyone who wants to access that, from JAMA, which is a very large medical journal, showing that the higher LDL is associated with better neuropathy healing. If I have very strong, gigantic upper arms, is it fine to put the CG in there, or is there a better place? So if the gigantic arms are coming from muscle, then and there's like really, not much fat tissue there, then you may want to put it on your abdomen or find an area that's got a little bit more fat tissue. If your arms just have, again, more fat tissue and that's contributing, it's totally fine to still put them on your arms. I've just had a few people who did have, again, very muscular arms, and it was a little bit harder, more painful when they put it there compared to, say, their abdomen. Any recommendations on best artificial sweetener? My preferred non-nutritive sweeteners are really allulose, monk fruit, and stevia. Those are the three I typically try to stick with if I'm doing any low carb baking or buying products. Good question. Other questions? We got a couple more minutes here. I think if there is anything I wanted to expand on, since we do have a little extra time. My take on dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate. I'm a self-declared chocoholic. I have over time, I've weaned myself basically to actually, and I can show you what I've got on my desk next to me. I eat unsweetened baker's chocolate now. So it's 100% cacao, and I actually really enjoy the flavor. I have typically a square per day. 85%, 90%. If you're lower than that, I would recommend slowly. It took me honestly many months where I actually now enjoy this unsweetened dark chocolate, but I do enjoy it. So it was a purposeful training of my body to get there. So again, if you're at 70%, just slowly work your way up to as dark as possible. A brand that's probably a little bit better tasting than that Baker's unsweetened chocolate is Montezuma's. No affiliation. I just really like their flavor. They have an orange essence with cacao nibs in it, and I really enjoy that. If I did need to choose medication, I would definitely be going for the GLP-1 medications, and metformin is my first picks. I really, again, I try to, if I have someone coming to see me and they're on one of the sulfonylureas, glimepiride, glipizide, I try to stop those instantly. And hopefully with the lifestyle changes, we don't need to add an additional medicine. But if we do, then again, typically metformin or one of the GLP-1 medicines is what I'm going to reach for. And I'll ask just a question because again, we've got the holidays coming up. Does anyone have anything they're concerned about with the holidays coming up, or thinking, oh, man, I need a replacement recipe for this thing? I just was at a party this past weekend. There was a Friendsgiving, and I brought a keto stuffing, a keto pecan pie, and a keto pumpkin pie, and people loved it. It was delicious. So if you need any recipes, we do have more recipes in our app. If you want to message, or you can put even if you put something in the community chat, I think several people will probably post something for you. We've also got a Get Help Now section in the app. So again, this is a tough time of year between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I think having that meal plan in advance can be so helpful. And there are a lot of really good recipes out there now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laura Buchanan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the voice of Tro. I appreciate you so much for doing these. And can I add just one sec, guys? We put these conferences together, and we try to do them for free. And so if you know somebody, if you're out there on social and you want to figure out how to support us, download the Toward Health app. Share it with family members. If you are in a bind, you have a medical issue, and you need an amazing medical team that doesn't take insurance, never taken money from pharma, never taken money from supplement companies, never taken any kickbacks whatsoever. That's what Toward Health is about. It's about interest-free, direct care. And so we have myself, Dr. Laura, Mary, and we're four amazing health coaches, so we absolutely would be honored to care for you and your family members. So spread the word. We also have amazing courses. So sometimes, like our medical care, I know it's a bit out of reach. It's not affordable for everybody, but maybe you just want to get great medical care. Take one of our courses, and there's courses run on the app, and they're on our website too, so you can share them with your friends and family, and we'd definitely appreciate that. So thank you, Laura, for putting on this interest-free conference, and interest-free lecture. And thank you all for joining us. Anything else that you had? I didn't mean to put the period on it, but
No, that was perfect. Just I'd love to see everybody again next week. Thank you for all the people on social media that were listening in as well. And again, if you weren't, you're just listening in, but you'd like to see the slides, it'll be on the app for free this month. So please check it out while you can.
all right, guys, have a good one.
Awesome. Bye, everybody.